back to another episode of Wicked Good Show. I am your host, Dylan. I'm here joined by Brian. Brian, what is up? What is up? It has been, I guess I'm just trying a new intro every time we go in. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since we last talked for our weekly podcast, but I'm pumped to be back. How have you been in between now and since we last spoke?
I've been good. So, Dylan, even though it's been a few weeks, I just want to open with this. I've recorded, I was trying to calculate it before the show, roughly about like 500 podcasts of varying lengths over the last few years. So you would think on a day like today where, it was like 85, it was really hot, you'd think I'd, you know how to be prepared for a podcast, and I'd maybe turn the AC on in the room that I'm going to be recording in for an hour and then probably editing in for another hour or so. I'd turn that on like more than 10 minutes before the show, right? You'd think someone this experienced would do that.
Yeah, it's very hot. It's hot
Yeah.
out.
So I didn't do that. I turned it on for about 10 minutes, and it's really, really hot in this room. So if I start like sweating profusely, that is why.
I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, heat advisory. I didn't think we'd open with weather commentary.
Mhm.
But yeah, heat advisory tomorrow. Very very hot, which is it's been an otherwise very mild summer. So,
Yeah, it's we're in the Northeast. It never gets too crazy up here during the summer. I know in the UK right now it's like 100 degrees. Well, I saw they were like, oh my God, it's gonna be 40 degrees Celsius, and I was just like, oh, that's bad, maybe. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's 100 degrees and they don't have air conditioners. That's really fucking bad. So, not as bad as it is in the UK, but it's hotter than we're used to.
yeah, I was because that's been it's been like a sneaky big story of just all these people dying in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And I never even honestly thought about what summers were like in Europe. But I guess the reason all these people are dying is because all these houses are meant to trap heat inside,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them have like ACs. And any of the ACs, it's basically like there's never a need to have an AC. So really, the only
Yeah.
people that have ACs are the rich people.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, all like the poor and old people are dying. So it's nice to know that the pecking order is still there.
Yeah, it's nice that the climate's keeping all of us in line. Just about it. Yeah, but terrible. T's and P's obviously to the UK. That sucks a lot.
So it's been like I said, 2 or 3 weeks. What have you done? What have you seen? What have you watched? What have you been mad about?
Whew. So I've been obviously watching, covering on this channel, Better Radio. Big Brother. It's been okay. It's had its moments of being like problematic, as every season of Big Brother is, especially since it's streamed live on the internet. There's plenty of time for these house guests to do problematic things, but it's kind of leveled back out, so it's been pretty good. I've been watching Westworld. So I watched a movie on Amazon. It might be on Netflix as well, called The Vast of Night. It's very good indie film made for like $700,000, but it looks amazing. Yeah, sci-fi indie film. I highly suggest it. If you like the Twilight Zone, it's very like of that style of like storytelling. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Other than that, I watched the Kurt Warner biopic, American Underdog. It was fine. I'm a big Kurt Warner fan, so I enjoyed it. But if you're not a big sports fan and you're not already like familiar with it, I don't know how good it is.
Even then, it seemed like it's just like the corniest
Dude, it's as corny as can be. It has the dude from Chuck and Shazam as yeah. He was good. He was a good Kurt Warner, I thought. And then Annie Paquin from X-Men and True Blood. Yeah, she was good as Kurt Warner's wife. There's actually one guy who played Steve Mariucci for 2 scenes, nailed it, knocked it out of the park. Like I don't know. It didn't even say that he was Steve Mariucci, but because he was so good, I was like, wow, this guy's playing Steve Mariucci. Like, amazing.
Is there any Patriots stuff of when the Patriots beat them in the Super Bowl?
No, it went up until the Rams beating the Titans in Super Bowl
Oh, how
34, I think.
did they have that? Did they have? I think that was that Super Bowl. The Titans with like they almost got the last second touchdown
Yep,
at the very
one
end.
yard
Yeah,
short.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So they had that. It was fun. I mean, it did like the classic. It was like, oh, he also led, his teams to two other Super Bowls. It's like, don't worry about how they did in those, of
I was
course.
about to say,
But
very convenient. They leave out like
yeah.
what killed the very brief time of the greatest show on turf.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So that was pretty fun. Westworld, I think, has been very good. Been watching that.
interesting.
Um,
I've heard like very mixed things.
I
I
mean, I love that genre. I love like the idea of artificial intelligence, gaining sentience, much like the guy in our episode a few weeks ago. Just really, really into. I bet he's a huge Westworld fan.
oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been
Multiple
enjoying that.
multiple versions of Westworld. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So on the XXX sites online. I know. I guess Westworld has a few of those scenes of their own.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really done much in between now and since we last spoke, entertainment wise. I did see Thor,
Hmm.
and it's furthered my belief with my Marvel fatigue, and I'm
Yes.
really really bummed because Taika Waititi, one of my favorite directors, Thor Ragnarok, one of the best Marvel movies. Just was not there. Was not there for Thor. I think it's one of the movies that uh, really would have benefited actually from a longer runtime rather than the shorter runtime they had.
Mm,
And
interesting.
I saw a few articles after about how basically he had to commit to the runtime that he ended up with. I'm not necessarily saying he could have made a better movie. He himself was going to make the better movie with a longer runtime, but I think that the story that was being told probably would have benefited from that overall.
Mm,
There's just so much that's left out, like to be seen. I guess like it's a small spoiler, but everybody knows she becomes Thor
mm.
with Natalie Portman
It's in
with
the trailer. I think that's fair game.
uh, you don't see her actual transformation into Thor. Like you understand how it happens and like you
Mm,
see how it's going to happen, but you don't actually see it. Same thing with Christian Bale. There's he's in the movie a decent amount, but that movie for sure could have benefited from him being in it much more. I
right.
don't know. I give it on Letterboxd. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which
Mm,
is for me that's like pretty average.
mm.
So I don't know. I'm just bummed. I like, and for reference, I gave Multiverse of Madness 2.5 stars. So I'm
Okay,
like,
it's a
I'm
little
really,
better than Multiverse of Madness.
I'm really kind of just, I don't know. And it is nice because they're kind of now that we don't have this. I actually think they need it, but now that we don't have this overarching villain that like Thanos that we know in every movie is going to tie in somehow. Where Thor, I was looking forward to just having this cool solo movie, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't work. Christian
Mm,
Bale was very good, but he wasn't in the movie nearly enough um, to kind of like fully praise his performance. You know what I mean? Like he was
sure.
very very good, but then like he just wasn't in it enough for me to be like, holy shit, what a great villain. And there's just a lot. You figured for Thor the God Butcher, you would see a lot more God Butcher, and you don't.
Mm,
So I'm actually very, very disappointed overall. It's a fine movie. I see a lot of people shitting on it. It actually got really, really. I think it actually has the worst Rotten Tomatoes score, other than I think the first Incredible Hulk. Excuse me, hold on. Let me pull it up. So Rotten Tomatoes. I know it's very low. I think it's at like 68%, 69%. Yeah, it's at 68%, which is. I think there's a little. I think like the audience scores 78, so this is one of the few times that I feel like, especially on Marvel movies, that they're very close.
yeah,
I'd probably
that's
put it
really
somewhere in the
close.
middle, maybe about like 70. I'm actually probably closer to the critic score.
Mm,
I'm curious what the incredible. So the Thor: The Dark World had a 66
oof.
for reference and had a 75% audience score. So it's for sure better than Thor: The Dark World, but it's I'd honestly maybe even put it on par with the first Thor. Right? Like I think
Mm.
it's like maybe a little bit better than that, but it's nowhere near Ragnarok. Let's see, the Incredible Hulk,
Guess
which is
Incredible Hulk had a 72. That's my
oh
guess.
wow. Okay, hold on. So let's pull it up. I think it might be a little bit lower. I think for sure audience score, it's got to be one of the lower ones.
Hmm.
I'm actually really shocked that the Dark World, which is like probably one of the most hated MCU movies out there, had a 75 audience. So the Incredible had a 67
Oh,
with a
or worse.
70% audience score. So that's kind of like this is in the realm that it's in. It's better than all the movies we're talking about right now. It's better than the Incredible Hulk. It's better than Thor: The Dark World. I'm actually really curious too. Iron Man 3, which I like, but apparently a lot of people hated Iron Man 3.
Oh, that's great.
Iron Man 3 has a 78% audience score, which is the same as Thor: Dark World, and then Iron Man 2, which is my personal least favorite MCU movie. Iron Man 2. That's a lie. Incredible Hulk is actually still my least favorite. It's 71% audience score and 72 Rotten Tomatoes. So that's like what you're expecting. This is very much like it's very much like an early MCU movie, and I think that that's like an issue, especially with the director that it has. And Chris Hemsworth really comes into his own. The Guardians are in the movie for maybe about like 4 minutes.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
So it's like they're on like the poster, but
Mm.
they're in the movie for literally one scene. So yeah, I'm really bummed because now because I used to obviously shout out Brian Wong. There's no way he's listening to this. He knows our frequent listeners. I used to go to the movies like 2 or 3 times a week,
Yeah.
but now it takes a lot for me to get out because I've moved. And the movie theater I go to is about 45 minutes to an hour away from me.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes a lot for me to go, and so I got there, and yeah, it was bummed. Um, so it's like it's actually it's a double-sided coin going on here because the last movie I saw before that was Top Gun Maverick, which was one of the best movies I've seen recently. For sure, one of the best like blockbusters
Hmm.
I've seen recently. So yeah, if you haven't seen Thor yet, I think that it's something you can probably just wait to see when it's on Disney Plus. I saw like a list too comparing all the Phase 4 because as I mentioned, I'm not going to rehash everything I said before, but I'm really disappointed with all the shows too.
Hmm.
So everything in Phase 4 movie wise. So there's Shang-Chi, there's Multiverse of Madness, there's the Eternals, um,
There's a
Black
lot. Yeah.
Black Widow, and Thor. I think that's all the movies, and I would put probably Shang-Chi first,
Hmm.
Black Widow second.
No Way Home, too, right?
No Way Home. Yep. So I actually, believe it or not, I'd probably still put Shang Chi first, No Way Home second, and
Hmm.
then overall, I don't think any of those movies are like home runs. So I don't know, and I think it's tough too because Benedict Cumberbatch is kind of he is the new Robert Downey Jr. for this franchise,
Hmm. He is, yeah.
and I don't know, and like they're kind of they're kind of trying to make that dynamic too with Scarlet Witch and uh, fucking
Doctor
what's
Strange.
Doctor Strange. Too many characters.
Gotcha. Yeah, there
But
are, at this point, yeah.
it seems like that they're kind of trying to make them the new like Cap and Tony, and like obviously that's a pretty big downgrade. Even though I really like those two actors a lot,
Hmm.
Elizabeth Olsen and Benedict Cumberbatch. So I don't know. I don't know. I really have a hard time believing that Marvel is going to have another movie that's going to be as good as the things that we got with Homecoming or with Endgame, with Infinity
Hmm.
War, with like
Did
Winter
you?
Soldier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Winter Soldier is great. Did you like it more than the Eternals? I feel like that's the big one this phase that
I
people
did
are
because I thought the Eternals was like a big little snooze fest.
right.
I didn't like the Eternals at all, and the Eternals I was going into because I knew nothing about them. I went into that with, especially with that cast too. I love that cast. I
Hmm.
went into that
Good
with really high
director,
hopes.
good casts, and still
I actually did.
didn't work.
When it started getting bad reviews, I didn't even. I waited. I actually didn't even see it till like 2 months ago. So that's another thing. Let me see what the internals got.
Oh, real bad. It got really bad.
47% Rotten Tomatoes,
Yeah.
78% audience. I think 47% is probably a little harsh, but I also think 78% is really high. I don't know. It's weird because I wanted more one-offs, like one-off movies that weren't bigger to the overall, whatever team up the Avengers are eventually going to have. And it's crazy too because obviously Chris Hemsworth is crazy charismatic. He's great as Thor. I think he's just as good as Thor too, but it's like it is very goofy, and I think maybe Thor would be much better if it was less goofy, especially after having Ragnarok and now this, even though as great as Ragnarok was, and obviously Guardians is goofy, but it's also it's I just different vibes. I don't know. I'm just disappointed. It just furthers my falling out with the MCU after obviously just being up its ass for the past 10 years. So
Yeah.
I hope it gets better. I don't know where. Maybe things like Blade, maybe incorporating the X-Men is going to change things around. They're apparently they're casting Fantastic Four now.
Yeah, that was
So
surprising to me. I thought John Krasinski was like locked in, but they were just like they had like this thing where Kevin Feige was like, "Oh, that's something the fans wanted, and since it didn't matter, we just gave them that." And I was like, "Oh, all right, I guess."
yeah, I would love that. It doesn't seem like something that John Krasinski would want to commit to.
That's fair too. And it's like way easier for him to be like, "Hey, would you want to come for a couple days and film like 3 scenes versus committing to like 10 movies?"
I think there's like rumors that Penn Badgley or Bagley, or we say his last name,
the guy from You, that guy.
Yeah, has been cast as Mr. Fantastic. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I don't.
I think John Krasinski's also just focusing on his directing career now that he's had 2 great movies with both of the Quiet Places.
And like, there's got to be a certain thing too. If you're like a filmmaker, and I would say if you're like a filmmaker more than just like an actor. If you're an actor, fuck yeah, sign up to the MCU, like steady work for a decade. But if you're like someone who's like, oh, I want to make my own stuff, I think you can only do so much within the confines of the MCU. Like, Kevin Feige's the one calling the shots. You're not going to be able to like make something that's too different or too like off the beaten path. It has to be. It's. I heard someone describe it as similar to a TV show, right? You have the showrunner, that's Kevin Feige, and then they hire directors, but like, there's very few television directors that you watch an episode and you're like, yes, this is this person's episode of this show. You know, it's and it's not a bad thing. It's worked out very well for the MCU, but like even like the Russo brothers, who like did very well and directed like Community episodes, which were very good. I'm not particularly excited for anything they're doing outside of the MCU because like I don't know like what kind of directors they are outside of this. You know what I mean?
Apparently, that Greyman movie that's actually coming out this weekend with Ryan Gosling, Chris Pine, and Ana de Armas is Stakey too, which is something I was actually really looking forward to. They did another movie too with Chadwick Boseman before he died, like Three Bridges or something like that. That also had like not great scores.
Oh yeah, 21 Bridges.
20 Bridges.
It was fun. It was fun.
It's like it's a weird thing where I actually think they're at their best in the MCU. So the Gray Man, I'm like, apparently we're going off of Rotten Tomatoes today. It has a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes for the tomato score, and then it has 88% for audience score. But I don't know how most of these people have seen it yet. Oh, it did. I think it did come out in theaters last week, like one of those like 1 week in theaters, and then it's on Netflix this weekend. Obviously, I'm no secret. I'm a big fan of the Goss God, Ryan Gosling. To be honest. She can slit my throat, and Chris Evans, great guy. Bill Bob Thornton's in it too. Reggie Jean Page, who I think is in Hamilton. I may be making that up. I'm pretty sure he was in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Or he's in Bridgerton. He's one of those in those tons. But yeah, he was in Bridgerton.
Tons.
I think he's in. So I will look forward to that. But I agree. I actually think the Russo brothers are one of the people that actually that get the MCU really well. It's funny. I think it was them and Joss Whedon, and obviously
Whew.
no one's going back there.
Yeah,
So
it seems to be over. Uh, much
and
like
even
our Josh Whedon centric podcasts.
And even
So
though
good review.
I love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, I'm like not as big of a Sam Raimi fan as a lot of people are either.
Mm,
Like even like the Evil Dead movies, I think are they're fine. It's something that maybe if I go back and rewatch, but I remember just not really liking them a lot as a kid either.
yeah.
Like those are like kind of like the go-tos for the Raimi nights. So I don't know. It's like the CGI is shockingly bad in these movies. Like there's always like a few
Yeah.
scenes where the CGI is terrible. I talked about it with the shows how bad the CGI is, but like there's a scene you may have seen it memed already on the internet of like there's this kid that has a floating head that comes up out of nowhere, and it's
I
like
did see this, yeah.
it's distractingly bad CGI, and it's just I feel like the COVID excuse no longer applies because these people are still working off the same machines they were working on before. It's I don't know. To me, it just seems like the MCU just like I just think that it has turned into a cash grab
Mm. I feel like too probably
where it's like they just don't have a clear directive there, which it's
that's
it's
yeah.
it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like it's like they're getting the cash grab, but they're not letting the directors do what they want. But at the same time, it's just like there's no like clear directive for them
Mm.
like to connect everything. So I don't know. I don't want to spend like 45 minutes in the MCU like we've already done like on a third of this podcast. But
No, it's fine. I'm
it's
gonna clip this out and
disappointing.
just say like the MCU is over question mark. Um, get those types of clicks. But
I
yeah, no,
think
I think it has a little bit to do with there's such like a there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen
yeah.
for Disney and MCU. So I think what's happening is like, oh, let's do this idea, and then like they go and like talk to like tons of people like, oh, we want to make this change and this, and then like the people making the CGI have to keep like redoing their work over and over and over, and then you get what like I was listening to a podcast and there's a costume designer who worked on a lot of stuff, but was most recently worked on Christopher Nolan's newest film, Oppenheimer, and she was saying that like Christopher Nolan knows what he wants. Like he's not someone who you have to present 100 different ideas to.
Mhm.
He's someone who's like, this is the look I want. Go make it. Like you have all the time now to make it what I want, rather than like making a ton of things at a lower like level and then just going from there, and then it looks kind of bad.
I think I mean I don't think there it's as much as like a hardo as like Scorsese was about like cinema and all that of like
Mm,
what is and isn't cinema, but I do think that it is for maybe the better now that if the MCU is kind of like becoming more vanilla, that these blockbusters will start getting much more attention. Because I go back to like the Northman, unbelievable movie. They finally gave the director the budget and the freedom to do whatever he wanted,
mm,
and it flopped. And same thing with Dennis Villeneuve. I always fuck up his last name with Blade Runner 2049, where that was a massive budget and also flopped. And also he had the success with Dune. So yeah, I mean, I think it does allow for things like directors like Christopher Nolan and Spielberg now they'll get that clout now for
mm,
blockbusters because I think the whole event atmosphere of the MCU movies is just done too.
mm.
And I think that played into a lot of it, which I think is fine. But I think now that that's gone, I think that the cracks are starting to show.
I mean, like the story's over, right? Like the story built up and then a climax, and it was great. And now it's just kind of like the prologue, or not sorry, the epilogue, not the
That's
prologue.
it.
It's
Because I don't want to do this for the next I don't want to do this for another 20 years. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do another massive threat level character that we build up over another like 10, 15 movies,
Mm,
and then we do one big one. Like I personally just have no desire to do that again.
mm.
And maybe that's me growing old. Maybe it actually is a
Oh
decline of the
yeah,
quality of the movies. I don't know.
they hit at a good time for us. Like end of high school, then like beginning of adulthood when you have more free time. And now that we're old, quite frankly, it's not as, appealing to be like, oh, I need to go at midnight to see this movie. It's like, oh, I need to sleep because I have to work in the morning, and if I don't sleep, it'll suck. But hey, the MCU's loss is shows like the boys gain because they're killing it. That's great, and they're kind of cashing in on people being tired of the MCU. I feel like.
Yeah. No. Agreed. So that's my thoughts too.
Mm.
One more topic I want to get to before we get into our main topic and then our Wikipedia roulette. So a new trailer came out for House of Dragon, the new Game of Thrones prequel, and I am all aboard on that. So it's I thought did you see that trailer of like it shows. It was basically a behind the scenes trailer, but it did show new clips of the show.
It was basically like, guys, we promise this time we will not fuck it up. Our showrunners actually give a shit. We promise.
So, I didn't realize that Miguel Sapochnik is also co-show running this, and Miguel Sapochnik directed some of the best Game of Thrones episodes there was. He did also direct I believe he directed the battle at Winterfell, which obviously had a few shortcomings technologically wise as well. But this trailer got me hyped. I can't wait. We're a month away from it. I think that it's having appointment television back. That I think this will be it, where I guess it is kind of on a streaming service, but it's a weekly release. I don't think that we don't have that anymore because I think I guess Succession we do, but I don't think Succession is pop culture wise as big as something like this will be. Where Succession is the best show on TV right now, but it's not going to have where every single household is tuning in, when it's live. I am really hoping with this Game of Thrones that it is too, because with the House of the Dragons, the cast is great. We have the composer back. The sound is unbelievable. We have the budgets there. I can't wait. Matt Smith, who's a Doctor Who. He was also in what was he in? He was in fucking Morbius recently. It's Morbin time. Just a great cast. I can't wait. It's something I'm now generally really really looking forward to. I'm more looking forward to this than I am the Game of Thrones, the Lord of the Rings show. And Lord of the Rings is my favorite trilogy of films out there, and so that is saying something because I do think the Lord of the Rings show. I've said before that it's too big to fail, and I think that there was a good chance it could stink based on what we've seen. It's just I don't understand what is going on with the Lord of the Rings. I don't really want to talk about it, but that's a conversation we can have a different day, especially if it comes out and it absolutely stinks. I think there's more of like a Hobbit vibe there than there is in the Lord of the Rings.
I'll put it this way, Dylan. I think you'll agree. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is a perfect trilogy. Perfect 3 movies.
Yep.
The Amazon show can only be worse than the show, whereas House of the Dragons can only be better than the end, or the same, because the end of Game of Thrones was so bad.
I think that's why these shows, kind of like what you just said, it's impossible to top the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I do think that the standard that's been set for these type of high fantasy shows is Game of Thrones in its prime, which is also going to be next to impossible to beat. Yeah. So it's similar to what we just said with the MCU. It's tough to imagine it getting any better than what its peak was. But if it's something that's on par, that's still unbelievable. That's fine with me. And I really think House of Dragon is going to be there. But also, we could have 1 or 2 very bad episodes, and all of a sudden that's it. Because this is technically the second show that was greenlit to premiere, and the show that was going to be before this with what's her name? Not Kate Winslet. She's married to Liev Schreiber.
I don't know off the top of my head, but
she was like the main actress cast in that show, and that was killed before they even finished filming it. So
Yeah.
there is something here with this show, and I'm really really looking forward to it. And I hope it's good, and I hope that, like I said, we get back to a show where it's on in every single household every Sunday
Hmm.
night.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll be good. I mean, I love the Game of Thrones universe, and the thing that this has is it has a lot of the people who worked on the original show coming back, which is good. Um, and then it has a whole story. Like the story's already like outlined. There's an ending. It's really cool, and there's a lot to work with in terms of making
It's a great
like
point too. That
a
has an
good
ending. Yeah.
show around it. So I'm confident. One thing I totally forgot at the beginning, but now that we're talking about HBO, to mention one thing that I watched last night was the rehearsal,
Yes, thank
and
you for bringing it up. Yes,
I
yes, go
think
on,
that
go
should be
ahead.
appointment viewing. I think that should be on at everyone's
Yes,
house because it was maybe the greatest episode of television I've ever seen
unbelievable.
in my life.
Hold. Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought that up because I watched that yesterday also. Um,
Whew, that was a lot.
so the rehearsal, for those of you who don't know, Nathan Felder or Fielder, Nathan Fielder,
Fielder, yeah.
who Nathan for you, he now has his own HBO series. Uh, Off topic, probably why it won't be a point in television. It's on at Friday nights at 11 p.m., which is a crazy time.
Just the perfect time for him, honestly. For
That is like the ultimate, like getting stoned and having a few beers and throwing this on, which is exactly what this show deserves. I don't. It's kind of like what Nathan for you was. It was like this very funny and uncomfortable show, but it had like this like kind of social commentary where this is just almost full blown, just like a social experiment. Uh, I don't know how to describe it. It's something like in the episode we saw, it all revolved around this guy who was on a trivia, a like bar pub trivia team, lied to the people that he played with that he had a master's degree, and he was terrified to tell one of the members on that team that he actually did indeed not have a master's degree. And the things that goes on in the show, the budget for the show has to be up there with like Game of Thrones. Like they build an entire building inside a warehouse to recreate. So basically, the whole premise of the show is that each week there's going to be a different subject, and basically Nathan Fielder is going to be coaching these people through like a rehearsal of something that they want to do. So this week it was this guy wanted to tell the woman that was on his trivia team that he did in fact not have a master's degree. He only had a bachelor's degree.
mm,
Uh, and it sounds very bland up top, but it was one of the most intriguing like hours of television I have seen in a long time.
mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable.
Yep. And much like Nathan for you, it has like parts where Nathan kind of interjects himself in his own like personal struggles and story, and his it just oh boy, it's amazing. Like I said, it was the best hour of television I've seen in a long time, and I'm very excited for the rest of the season. And I can't. If you are a fan of Nathan for you, and if you're a fan of just like uncomfortable humor and a weird the way I kind of like I was talking to Ben about this was like it's kind of comforting knowing that even like normal people, normal seeming people, are just fucking insane. Everyone's insane if you break it down enough, and it just kind of is showing the insanity of modern life and people and Nathan Fielder, quite frankly. I saw some funny tweets about him. One was Nathan Fielder's like a Batman villain who doesn't do crimes. Nathan Fielder's the only person who deserves the moniker like from the sick and twisted mind of. And just like, yeah, Nathan Fielder he's amazing. Please go watch it if you haven't seen it. Not many people are gonna see it. I'll clip this out and put it on TikTok, but whew, it's amazing.
I think it's something that I think would probably take off once a few episodes have come out.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to I think what happened with Nathan for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought it up. I don't know. I don't know if like my brain repressed the like the cringiness of a lot of went
Yeah.
on, but it was so compelling, like everything that was going on. And there's a certain scene in the show towards the end where you're unsure if this person is going to do something or not. And it was just the most captivated I've been with something. I guess you can call it reality TV, but that's like it's much more than that. But
Yeah.
it is sort of reality TV. It's probably the most captivated by reality TV I've been in a very very long time. It was just it's unbelievable. I really can't wait to see where it goes to. And they showed in like the overall series trailer, there's at one point going to be like a mock family drawn up for someone, like something like that. So it's
Yeah.
just yeah, check it out. The Rehearsal. It's unbelievable. Like the Batman villain that doesn't do crime. That is pretty spot on for Nathan Fielder. He's like he literally is one of a kind. I can't think of any other person in
Yeah.
entertainment that is like him. To call him a comedian, I think, is selling him short.
He's an
He's like
artist, quite frankly.
he's an artist. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he is. It's I never have seen anything like it on television. And it's so one of this. There's a scene with the character called Thrifty Boy that comes into play, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so absurd but so funny. It's I and it's also like it's tough to describe it to someone because like even now just describing it sounds so ridiculous and so silly, but it has such a serious like social commentary to it too, where like you said there are some people that are out there that are actually like crazy, but also like the character that we had in this week too I thought was like a very likable character, even though he was clearly very weird, who isn't a little bit weird, but he was very weird about this one particular thing that he wanted to approach too. And it was like just I laughed out loud and cringed at least 100 times both in this episode. It was just unbelievable. I can't wait. Speaking of HBO, is just going to be on a roll now. We have Succession. We now have they've been having great mini series that I've been watching, but I've been hearing just how great. Like I think Mayor of Easttown was another one with Kate
Excellent.
Winslet that I
Yeah.
heard was unbelievable. So now we
I've
have
been loving Winning Time. That's been
Winning
great.
Time, the Lakers show. Yeah, so it's just it's like one thing after another with HBO. I think it's funny too.
Peacemaker.
Yep, Peacemaker. That's another one too. The acquisition of DC is pretty big for them. It's just it's I'm watching The Sopranos right now for about like the 12th time, and I'm like just like, oh, this was HBO in its heyday. But no, I think we are in the heyday of HBO right now, where they're just whatever they got going on over there, they got to keep it going because it's working.
Yeah, HBO just doesn't, no days off for HBO. Just like banger after banger since The Sopranos. I'm sure The Wire is actually like when it really started, but it's just amazing, awesome, and also rest in peace. Didn't an actor just pass away from The Sopranos?
Oh yeah, Tony. It's just a row. Sekiro. I always fuck up his last name, but yeah, he played Paulie. Yeah, that was a big. That was the first celebrity death in a while. Even like Ray Liotta didn't. I mean, as because also I was actually literally in the middle of watching Sopranos episode when I got the news, so it was like, yeah, that stunk. It's also just a reminder we're all getting old and we're gonna die soon.
Yeah, so make sure you waste your time by listening to all of our podcasts. There's no better way to spend your last days, and it could legitimately be your last days with how hot the planet is getting. Apparently,
I could die in 3 seconds.
yeah. So, with that, make sure you subscribe to HBO, and just leave the recurring payments on. And when we do a Patreon, do that also. So if you do die, you at least die knowing that you're giving money to a good cause.
Yep. Yep. Indeed. And speaking about like the unknown and just terrifying, and we don't know a whole lot. This was going to be our topic last week when it was relevant, but I feel like it's still relevant.
Oh, it's still relevant. Yeah.
The two stories that I pulled up, and everybody, there will, at least once a day, I see someone sharing the photo on Instagram too. We do have the James Webb Space Telescope, which cost billions of dollars, finally revealed its photos, and it was borderline unreal. The photos that we saw, it was first time I saw them, I'm like, these are fucking fake. These are fake photos. The one particularly is the one of like that has the. So I'm sure if you've seen these photos, if not, look at them up. But you've seen them somewhere, and maybe you didn't even realize it. Between the Hubble telescope, the way it was described to me, the jump from the Hubble telescope to the James Webb was like going from riding a bike to riding a Ferrari.
Hell yeah,
Um,
that's an
and
awesome
so
way to
that's
put it.
really what it is too. So here's this article that was actually from yesterday on NBCNews.com. I'm going to quickly read it. The James Webb Space Telescope cost taxpayers $10 billion. For that considerable sum, we've recently been treated to some spectacular photos of the cosmos. Judging by the comments of my friends and the reaction to these views have been wonder, even if few know their scientific significance or all the other blah 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 blah. It's not new. It is not new that astronomical knowledge. This is a tough sentence. It's not that new astronomical knowledge will, by itself, improve the lives of our kids and grandkids. When in 1543, Nicholas Copernicus finally dismissed the 2,000-year-old idea that Earth was the center of the solar system, the standard of living in Poland didn't suddenly make a great leap forward. And yet, Copernicus's work has demonstrated something of profound philosophical importance. Humans, as well as we are, occupy an I didn't read this article before, so I am just reading gibberish right now. Occupy an unremarkable speck of dirt and dust in the universe. Our location is humdrum, and it's likely that our talents and likewise are likewise unexceptional, and we have good reason to be humble. Thanks to the special talents of the James Webb Telescope, thanks to its special talents. Once again, I didn't read this. I should have practiced this before it. The James Webb Telescope could very well have similar effect. Unlike the Hubble telescope, the James Webb doesn't see in space visible light. Dash the range of wavelengths to which our eyes are sensitive. The James Webb is an infrared telescope, which makes it useful in two important areas of astronomy. The first is understanding the history of the universe. Yep. How did the convolution of the Big Bang 13 billion to 14 billion years ago lead to stars, galaxies, life, and us? We are curious about this story in the same way that we want to know our own family history. Because of the universe is expanding, the light reaching us from the distant objects is reddened. Consequently, if we want to see how the cosmos looked when we were still young, to understand the cosmos life history, it is best to do so by using a telescope that is sensitive to deep red light. All right, so I'm not going to continue reading all this junk, but the pictures are unbelievable. What we are seeing is, I think we're in the billions of light years away. So for all we know, a giant black hole has already come and wiped all these things out, and we're still waiting to learn about it.
Yeah.
But it's literally like I feel like I'm looking at like an old Star Wars poster or something like that too. It's like the colors are unreal. I think it's the what I saw is everything that is not that doesn't have like a star spike coming out of it is another galaxy. Is what I've been told, which is there's hundreds of thousands of galaxies apparently out there. Like it said, it is incredibly humbling and it does make you feel very small. And I think the most terrifying thing of it all is that I am one of the believers, and I think most people are, is that we're not the only intelligent life in this universe. But the terrifying thing is obviously is if we're like one of the
Yeah.
first, and all these planets are like bacterial or whatever. I think that is the terrifying part too. But I'm not convinced in our lifetime that we will meet another intelligent life from another planet. But this is a pretty big start. I mean, we're seeing clear pictures about in the universe. The one with the cloud, the orange cloud, and then the stars back there behind. That one's like probably the most unbelievable photo to me because, like I said, it just looks like something that was out of like a Star Wars poster or something like that. But it's mind blowing. 10 billion is a lot of money. Could go to a lot of things, but I guess it's better that it's being used for this than like a fucking football field or something like that.
That's true. I mean, yeah. And so, like, it's absolutely insane, as you said. I mean, there's the absolute scale of stuff. There's one galaxy that's so dense that it bends the light from other galaxies, like in the picture. That's insane. I'm very excited. Because we're like, this isn't the end. They're gonna fucking keep using this telescope to take pictures. I know there is another solar system that's only like 39 light years away from us, and there's 3 planets that are within the habitable zone of the star. the star's much smaller than the sun, so they're all much smaller. But like, they're gonna be able to look at that and then potentially be able to see like, oh, this, could potentially support life, and it's the way it works is we're looking at it. It's 39 years ago, what it looks like, but 39 light years is not that far away from Earth in like the grand scheme of things. Like they'd look back at us and they'd see fucking Full House or some shit on TV if they're that's like the difference. So really exciting stuff.
I think that the real groundbreaking thing will be eventually, if it's even possible, that we break the speed of light. I think that's obviously like the big. If we can do that, then we can actually start doing intergalactic travel. Because, like you said, 39 years is not that far away, but it is also like the shit that's leaving there is those people are not coming back. So even then,
Oh
that's
yeah,
like
they wouldn't come
that's
back.
that's
Yeah.
that itself is terrifying. So
It'd
there
be a
is
39. Yeah, it'd be even longer because we
it'd,
can't even go the speed of light. It'd be,
it'd be 88 years there and back.
yeah, if you can go the speed of light, and we cannot
We
even.
can't.
So, it'd be, it's still exciting. It's still like there's not a lot of things in the world that like are like cause wonder. You know what I mean? Like when you're a little kid and you're just learning things, like everything is so wondrous. But then like when you get older, you're like uh, pretty like apathetic about, or at least I am. I don't know. I might just be depressed. Who knows? But things get less exciting. But space to me never gets less exciting. I mean, the border of this podcast is space. Tamora just made it up for us. Like a lot of the things in the channel are like space themed. I just, yeah, I hope that one day humans don't destroy themselves and in thousands of years we do have an intergalactic species. But for now, seeing these photos is really cool.
Our probably next biggest step is getting a human on Mars.
Yeah, we'll see
That's
if that
probably
can
the next
happen.
biggest, probably scientific thing that could happen for us is actually getting a human alive on Mars.
Yeah.
Would be a very big deal.
Well, listen, you're gonna get to Mars alive. You're gonna die there, definitely. But like, you know, it's great.
Let me look that up. So how long does it take to get to Mars? It would take about 7 months and about 300 million miles to get there currently.
Not that
Uh,
bad.
no, but the issue is getting people back is the problem.
There's no way, no way that we get people
Um,
back.
so we obviously have a long ways to go, but I think some people that are just like, oh, these are just photos. Who gives a fuck? It's still it's huge, and like you said, I think there was a picture of Jupiter or of Neptune, or one of those that was like the clearest picture I've
Yeah,
seen
Jupiter.
recently.
It was insane.
Unbelievable. It's all gas. That's all. It's
Yeah.
all it is. It literally just looks like it's all. It looks like one of those fucking paintings where it's just like
Hmm.
constant swirls of all that. It's unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable. Like I said, I'm convinced that we will never find uh, a intelligent life form out there in our lifetime.
No,
If we
definitely
do,
not in ours, unless they're coming to us because they're so far advanced.
yeah,
We're not going to be going anywhere or getting
which
in
which
contact with
I
anyone.
think that they already have, but that's a different podcast for a different time.
Hmm.
I just don't think that we'll actually fully flesh out and discover one in our lifetime.
Yeah.
At least not the public. I'm sure the government already knows enough.
Hmm.
But I'm
Right.
convinced. I'm
Yeah.
convinced. I think the real red flag is when the government starts like openly acknowledging UFOs. I think that's when we and they have no explanation for it. I think that's when we start hitting the red flag a little bit, which we already have been there. But I just don't think that we'll see like aliens walking around ever in our life.
Here's here's how I look at it, Dylan. I don't know. Maybe aliens have visited Earth. If aliens have visited Earth, and they haven't destroyed Earth at this point. They're not going to. Like, in order to be able to travel from another galaxy to our galaxy safely, their technology is so advanced compared to ours that we're like nothing to them. So why would they like kill us if they haven't already? You know what I mean? Like, it's more likely than not that they're just kind of like, there's some semi-intelligent species on this planet. Let's check that out. That's cool. Like, will they interfere? Will they not? Who knows? But if they haven't destroyed us yet, I doubt they're going to. If they have like visited us at this point,
Until they finally have like a reason to, yeah.
and they're like, "You guys are doing great yourselves.
Yeah.
We're not threatened that you're ever gonna get yourselves off this planet, anyways. So it's fine."
All right, it is Wiki Roulette time as we wind down here. And I am spinning the Wiki Roulette wheel as we speak. Oh, okay. So we have a sports talk today. We were
okay, all right.
The 1995 Maui Invitational Tournament.
Okay, I'm not
basketball, college basketball.
Okay.
The 1995 Maui Invitational Tournament was an early season college basketball tournament that was played for the 12th time from November 20th to November 22nd, 1995. The tournament, in which began in 1984, was part of the 1995-1996 NCAA Division Men 1 basketball season. The tournament was played at the La Aina Civic Center in Maui, Hawaii, and was won by the Villanova Wildcats. And it was the first title for both the program and for its head coach, Steve Lapis.
Hey, Big East at the time. I don't think they're in the Big East anymore, but
yeah. So it was. Let's see. The game on November 5th was Vanderbilt versus number 4 UCLA, and Vanderbilt actually won that. And then after that, we had Chaminade. That is the name of the school. Chaminade. Vanderbilt destroyed them 96-71. And then we also had UCLA going into the losers bracket, who then beat Wisconsin 68-57. Vanderbilt moved on and played number 20 North Carolina. North Carolina beat them. Michigan State beat Chaminade. Chaminade's out; they're eliminated. And then Wisconsin fucking smoked them in the 7th place game. Villanova then moved on to play Santa Clara, who then beat them 77-65. North Carolina beat Michigan State 92-70. North Carolina then went on to play Villanova in the championship game, where Villanova won 97-75. And Santa Clara actually won the 3rd place game, beat Michigan State 77-71.
Nice. Well, as a college kid, I bet going to Maui, that was fun.
No, they still do it now. I'm fairly certain.
Oh, cool.
Notre Dame has been in something like that recently. Yeah, not as eventful as our last Wiki Roulette with that movie and that fucking crazy storyline there. But
yeah, did it say like any notable players who played it or anything like that?
So let's do a little digging here, Brian. I like that. Let's look into. Let's see. I'll click on the 1995-1996 men's basketball season. So let's see.
Yeah, who won that year? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on
I'm not on
college basketball. I very much enjoy it. I think it's a really fun sport to watch, especially March Madness. Super fun, but I don't pay close enough attention all the time.
Okay, let's see. 1995-1996 NCAA Men's basketball season. Kentucky Wildcats earned their 6th national championship by defeating Syracuse 76-67 in April 1996. They were coached by Rick Pitino in the NCAA basketball tournament. The less horny Rick Pitino back then, or more horny. I don't know. Who knows?
He was in his prime horny years. So.
Oh, let's see. So, notable players from this season. We have Ray Allen. We have Marcus Camby, Tony Delk, Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson, and Kerry Kittles.
Yeah, so pretty good. Obviously Ray Allen, Iverson, Tim Duncan. The top there, but
yeah, Marcus Camby sticks out. I remember Tony Delk, Kerry Kittles. So those are some some big names too. So let's see. I don't did any of them go to? No, because I know Ray Allen went to UConn. Marcus Camby went to. I believe Marcus Camby went to UMass. He did, yeah. Marcus Camby went to UMass. That was a big one then too. Let's see who else. Tony.
It was Syracuse, right?
Tony Delk was. So Tony Delk was on the championship-winning Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm.
Tim Duncan was obviously fucking Wake Forest. Allen Iverson. I don't off the top of my head. Allen Iverson was Georgetown.
Georgetown. All right.
And Kerry Kittle
shows what I know about basketball. Make sure you subscribe to our sports podcast channel too, when you get to sports, where we have other people talk about basketball, not Brian.
Kerry Kittles was Villanova, so we do have some ringers there.
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously, hey, he probably led Villanova to the Maui Invitational Championship. So
sure did. Yeah, everyone knows that.
Everyone knows. What are the stats that you just bring up anyways? Like, who's the best player on the 1995-1996 Villanova Wildcats that won the Maui Invitational?
And we do actually. Marcus Camby at UMass was the Naismith Player of the Year.
That's awesome. Has the Minutemen been good at basketball since Marcus Camby is the question. I think not really, but
the two UMass players I know, Marcus Camby and what's his name from the Sixers? Or fucking I'm forgetting his name. Julius Erving. Dr. J.
Oh,
Julius
way back. Yeah.
All right, that's the show.
That's it.
We will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody. Make sure you subscribe.
I'm going to the Elton John concert between now and then. I'll report back.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'll report back about that. Yeah, I'm going to that next Wednesday at Gillette. 8:30 show on a Wednesday night. Can't wait.
I mean, dude, for Elton John, though, worth it.
Yep.
Honestly. So, thanks for listening, everybody. See you in the next one.